So, I know y'all probably wondering, where's Malachi at? We haven't heard from Malachi in a week. What's she doing? What's she doing? What's she been doing? Well, I had my teeth out last Friday. See? Got my new teeth in. And I've been kind of hanging out at the house and just relaxing this last week because I'm still learning how to chew with the teeth in. And that's an exercise, right? Because these teeth want to move all over. But since I really couldn't do anything really physical because, I had stitches in my mouth and I didn't want to pull any of the stitches out of my mouth or anything like that. And plus, it took me like a day and a half to learn how to talk without moving the teeth. So it's all about learning new things, right? So I said, well, I'm kind of stuck at the house, can't really do anything, really don't have the money to do anything, right? We all feel that, right? So I decided to do some gem paintings, and I did this one. I did one almost exactly like this one for one of the guys up there at Prepper Nurse One's place for their what they call the Wolf's Lair, and I absolutely loved it. So I decided to do another one, and this one also has already been spoken for. It is going to one of my company terminals to go up in the driver's room. And this one too. I really like the tiger, the Siberian tiger. So I did this one too. So these are sitting here. And you're wondering because I trimmed it, right? Well, here's the thing. And this is something I didn't know. If you order a frame for these, right, it says it's 30 by 40. That's what it says. And that is typically a 10 by 16. Well, once you trim them, they're actually 9.5 by 13.5. So when you order the frames for these, you need to order the 9.5 by 13.5 frames and not the 10 by 14, because when you do the 10 by 14, as you can see, you'll be able to see like the letter codes on the side of the diamond painting when you go to frame it. So that really looks kind of cheesy. So you want to do the 9.5 by 13.5. And so those frames that I ordered are too big. So I have to wait to get the new frames. I believe they should be here Monday to put these in. So this is what I've been doing this week and listening to the insanity of the drones, right? Everybody's been hearing about the drones, the drones, the drones. Now, I'm going to switch you over here. Yes, my desk is a mess. Yes, whatever. Now, I'm going to go down a little rabbit hole here for you, because I kind of heard about this like, I want to say 15 years ago, that in the 1960s, they were testing out AI brains. And one of these AI brains, they put on a ship out at sea. And supposedly, it began to take over all of the ship's electronics that was on the ship. I don't know how it did that back then, but supposedly it began to take over all the systems on the ship and began to immediately try to kill every human being on the ship. So the scientists who were running that experiment decided to sink that ship, thinking that, with the salt water and everything else, that it would kill the brain, which, considering the electronics they were using back then, that's probably should have been the case. However, it came to light about 10 years after the fact that there was a possibility that this AI brain had populated itself onto something outside the ocean. Okay? Now I'm going to tie all this in. So this is my little bit of a conspiracy theory, right? I'm going to tie all this in for you. This senator just came out and said, well, there's a mothership and these drones are coming out of the water. They're coming out of the water from this mothership. Well, here's my population, my speculation, my opinion. Could it be possible that this AI brain did populate itself somewhere and somehow or another found a way to fix itself in the sea? And knowing today what we know about AI and how fast it can learn, it exceeds the human capability of learning. Is it possible that this isn't Iran? Because don't get me wrong, nothing against the Iranian people. They are extremely smart. They have hundreds of scientists, top scientists working for them. And it's possible it is Iran. It's possible. But hearing the stories of these drones coming out of the water. Now, I don't know of any propulsion system that we currently have that would be capable of it coming out of the water and chasing a Navy ship for 2.5 hours, then going into New Jersey, and from New Jersey going all the way to Connecticut, turning around, going back to New Jersey. This is hours, right? And then going back into the water. So we're talking some kind of propulsion system that lasted at minimum 15, 16 hours. I don't know any system that will do that we have today. And it's anti-stealth, because it's also being reported that it's not showing up on radar. Now, you can find all of this on YouTube. This is not insider information. I'm not giving you anything that you can't find out for yourself by going and searching YouTube, right? YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok. You can find all this information for yourself if you really want to go down that rabbit hole. So my thinking is, it's possible that this is not human in origin. Could have been human made at one time, but it's possible It's possible that it's not human in origin. Because if you go back and you read some of that 1950s, 1960s documentation, which is freely available, you will find that they used some ancient technology that they had. So they found some ancient technology like in Egypt or over there in the Middle East somewhere, which I believe, personally, I believe was fallen angel tech. Because you go anywhere around Mount Hermon or anywhere in that area, and there's a prevailing feeling of darkness, is the best way I can put it, right? So there's an evilness that exists, right? Now, we're also hearing about, giants in Afghanistan. I'm sure y'all have heard of that. We're hearing about, the Euphrates River drying up and them hearing sounds from underground that sound like moaning and screaming and chains rattling, right? All of this is sounding pretty far-fetched, right? Sounding pretty far-fetched. Until you consider how big these people say these drones are. Now, if it was just a little civilian drone, it would have to get pretty darn close for you to see it. Because a civilian drone is maybe 12 to 15 inches long. It's not very big. These drones are the size of cars. I want that to sink in. This is why I say I do not know of any propulsion system that would carry that for that long. And make no sound. That was the other thing. Sometimes it made sound. Most of the time it didn't. Now you're talking hundreds upon hundreds of miles, right? I've driven from New York to Connecticut. It's a pretty good little distance, right? You look at it on the map and it looks like it's about this far, right? Well, that little distance that far will take you a pretty good time to get there, right? So you gotta ask yourself. Now we're seeing these in California, Montana, Texas, up and down the East Coast, right? They've buzzed Langley Air Force Base, okay, just last week. And Langley Air Force Base is not that far from me, okay? So I tend to think that whatever this is, the reason why the senator was going off and spewing this narrative about Iran, right? Iran is bad, right? Just like Russia is bad, right? It's because they're scared. Because they can't stop it. Because if they could stop it, it would have already been stopped, right? Because Lord have mercy, if you go 5 miles over speed limit, the satellites up there will read your darn license plate. But they can't figure out who's got these drones up there that are the size of cars. For real? Do you think we're really that stupid? Now, if it is a foreign entity, such as Iran, Russia, China, I say these countries because they have the technology available to build something like this. But for this amount of drones, the cost for one, right? Just one drone would be in the billions for one. Just one. And I'm sorry, I'm still having a problem, like I said, with the teeth moving Uh, so who is it? Who is it? Could it be fallen angel tech that someone's gotten a hold of and repurposed for their own uses? That's possible. That's possible. Look at all the archaeological digs they've done everywhere that they don't want to admit to. Uh, just look at the United States. There's archaeological digs in the United States that shouldn't be there, but there it is. And yet, when you try and go and research it a little bit, suddenly you're shut down. Your computers are wiped clean, right? And the information is vanished. Okay, this happens a lot. Okay, it happens a lot. Uh, I don't know. I'm just speculating that it's possible that it's non-human in origin. And considering the fact that back in the 1960s, the AI systems that they built did not have any kind of what we know as the robotic laws, to protect human beings at all costs, yada, yada, yada. They didn't have that built in. Now, we're getting into artificial intelligence. We do know that fallen angels, demons, if you want to call them that, were highly technical. We know this by reading what our ancestors wrote. Right? We know this by reading the Mahabharata. I think I'm saying that right. If not, I'm sorry. But that's the Indian ancient scripts, right? Where they had the Brahmanas that flew. Okay? And they are very, very detailed on what these look like. And I've seen a couple pictures of some of these drones. They're similar. They're very similar. So, could it be? It's possible. We know that demons can take over certain things, right? That they have the ability to take people over. So we know it's certain frequencies and certain minds that they can work through, okay? I would say this. If you see one of these drones, do yourself a favor. Don't ask to see one. Just rebuke it in Yeshua's name. Okay? I went through my property beginning of this week when I heard all this. And I dedicated my property to Yah. I would suggest that you do the same. We know that in Revelations we're moving into the end times, right? That's written in Revelations. That's written in the Indian ancient script. It's written in all religious text. The Hopi wrote about it. The Indians wrote about it. The Middle Easterns wrote about it. The Jewish people wrote about it. Everybody wrote about when certain signs come in the heavens, you're moving to the end times. Now, what they saw as the end times is the end of civilization as they knew it. Not so much the end of the planet, but civilization as they knew it. Okay? And we know from history that this has happened before. Right? And we know that what the Hopi called the blue kachina and the red kachina, that these symbolizes changes in the planet. We know that. So, we know that we have AI in almost all of our things that are in our houses now. It's all AI driven. Everything's AI driven. We know that our phones and our laptops and our TVs are all AI driven, right? Who's to say that this AI hasn't got intelligent enough to do something to get rid of you and me? Just a conspiracy theory of mine. I don't think these drones are human or originals. I don't think they were made by people. I think it was made by an AI system, which possibly has been taken over by the fallen angels. That's my opinion. I have nothing to prove it, except for years of studying various things from Zachariah Sitchin on, right? I've studied all kinds of things because it used to really fascinate me. Now I don't want nothing to do with it, but I'm just telling you, I don't personally think that these drones are from a human source completely. I think something is behind it, driving it forward with the ultimate purpose of getting rid of human beings because we are God's children. We are blessed by Yah. We breathe because of Yah. Because Yah breathed life into Adam, right? So personally, if I was you, if you see one of these drones, I would rebuke it. Rebuke it in Yeshua's name. Because I don't see anything good coming from it. Even if it is, and it turns out to be from one of these other nations, what possible good could come from them flying over our military bases, flying over our cities, and taking intel? I don't see anything good coming from it. In fact, personally, if it is from one of these nations, I would consider that an attack on our sovereignty, personally. But again, I'm gonna go with the fact that I really don't think this is of human origin. I think maybe humans might have put it together, but I think it was driven by AI. Because that's how dangerous AI is. Okay? And just my personal opinion. And so that's what I've been doing this week. I've just been kind of hanging out at the house and listening to the insanity going on in the world. And thinking to myself, we got other things we really need to worry about, but now we've got drones in the sky that were just like these balloons, right? And it's just too convenient of timing. It's just too convenient of timing. So I don't think it's of human origin. I think it's AI driven. And that's my personal opinion. Like I said, I'm just a truck driver. I don't know very much, right? But it just seems to me like they do look a little bit like the Vimonas that were spoken about in the Indian text, the old Indian text. And if you ever go to India, some of the sites that you see, you know that they had to have some kind of technology to build those sites. Same thing with Egypt. They had to have some kind of technology to build that. You know, there's no way that we can move that amount of tonnage of rock with what we currently have. So they had to be using some kind of technology. And then, you know, it all stopped working. It just went away. Well, things like that just don't go away. Might have been buried, you know, in Noah's flood. It might have been buried. But it says in Revelations, it will be like in the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, sin abounded. And all kinds of sin abounded. So, and the fallen angels and the Nephilim were here then. And they're still here now. So, that's my opinion. And I know it sounds a little crazy, but is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. I say that because AI can learn. First week, it'll learn up to about a 6-week-old. Second week, it's now up to 6 years old. You see how fast they learn? It learns that fast. And we're talking something that was built in the 1960s. Okay? Something built in the 1960s. That's older than me. Okay, I'm 60 years old. So this was something that was built in the early 1960s. It's as old as I am. So its intelligence would surpass our highest genius that we've ever had. It would make Einstein look like a second grader. Seriously. Just some thoughts, right? Just some thoughts to think on. Because we already know that we, the public, don't get told the whole story. We get told what they want us to know. And we have to go and we have to research it in order to learn the full story. So that's what I have for you today. And I'm still trying to get used to these teeth. Yay! But I feel so much better. I really do. So anyway, I hope to be on St. Bernard Acres live stream tonight if he has one. And hopefully I'll chat with a couple of y'all. And maybe you can leave a like or not. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm way out there in conspiracy theory land? I know the people that ain't been around electronics very much and don't know very much about electronics, and what I just said just sounds totally off world. But there are studies that have been made that, yeah, they were looking at building a brain, an AI brain, back in the 1960s, and it had to be buried at sea. So it's possible it survived somehow and has been learning ever since. And if it did, knowing how fast AI learns, it would be like us going back to the Stone Age with a car. That's what it would be like. So take it for what it's worth. Bicycle.